Got it. All right, our mission statement. Helping Parents Heal is a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting bereaved parents to become shining light parents by providing support and resources to aid in the healing process. We go a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and evidence for the afterlife in a non-dogmatic way. Affiliate groups welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non-religious background, and allow for open dialogue. Attendance today at the Helping Parents Heal meeting is voluntary, and we are here for the benefit of learning from and sharing with other parents whose child has passed away. It is understood that our discussions are intended to be confidential and not designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. However, these Zoom meetings are very healing to parents all over the world, and they are all posted on YouTube so that affiliate members who are not in our time zone can also watch. Helping Parents Heal offers a wide variety of speakers to allow parents to be informed about many possible ways to heal, to connect with their children, and to learn about the afterlife. The views expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of Helping Parents Heal, and we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally. So thank you to Carol and welcome Serena. I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you. And Serena, I'm so excited to have you. I read both of Serena's books and I immediately said to Elizabeth, I have to interview her. She's really, really amazing. Sarina, I'm going to start by reading her bio for you. Sarina Baptista is an award-winning author, international speaker, spiritual teacher, and evidential psychic medium. She has 2 award-winning books, Finding Love and Purpose and My View from Heaven. She was a featured speaker for the Life, Death, and Beyond International Conference in Crete, Greece, and is visiting medium presenter at Lilydale, New York during their summer program. She is also a presenter at IANDS Conferences and has created many training programs, including spiritual mentoring and retreats, bridging this world and the next. Serena discovered her gifts through her own tragedy, the passing of her 7-year-old son in March 2007. She learned that her son did not really die. He was still very close, and he led her to her incredible gifts. Visit, and it's SarinaBaptista.com. So, Lynn, if you want to put that in the chat.
Thank you.
So anyway, well, Serena, like I had said in her bio, she wrote 2 amazing books. Her first book, which is Love and Purpose, Our Journey Through Healing, talking about stumbling over words, through connection, she wrote with 3 other women. And they all have incredible stories. And their questions, it's really, I'm going to just quickly let you know what their questions are that they answer in that book. Where did my loved, or why did my loved one leave? Where did my loved one go? Is this all there is? Is my loved one out there waiting for me? Is my loved one trying to communicate with me? Will I ever see my loved one again? And how do I continue my life without my loved one here? And those are questions that they've answered in this book. They found their own discoveries. So, Serena, if you want to tell us just briefly about your connection with these 3 women, and then, of course, about your precious son, JT, and just let us know what he's like, his personality.
Yes, thank you. And thank you so much, everybody, for being here tonight. And thank you so much, Carol and Lynn, for hosting this. I was telling them earlier, anytime I get to talk about JT, I'm very happy. The book was created, actually, it was really funny. It was a spiritual experiment with these 3 ladies in getting them to speak to their soul. And as we were going along, what JT came in and said was that okay, mom, go ahead and keep continuing this. And by the way, it's going to be a book. And it was really hysterical because these women did not consider themselves to be authors. They were just beginning their writing journey. I met each of them as clients. They were all clients of mine, and they decided to do this class, The Soul Speaks. And so we created this book, a lot of them kicking and screaming along the way, but all of us have loved ones on the other side. Three of us have children, and one of our authors has a husband. And boy, were they persistent when we were when we were writing that book in the deadlines and all of that. But it really is just a beautiful book, and it gives an overview from four perspectives of life after death.
Thank you. And let us know about your beautiful son, JT. What's his
Wow.
personality like? I know he was 7 when he crossed.
Yes, yes. And just bubbly. One of the things that I found most fascinating at his funeral, we'd had two separate funerals for him. And this was, he passed in March 30, 2007. And so we had two different funerals. We had one for kids because we wanted to keep that, keep it a little bit light. And then we had one for adults. And every single child there stood up and said, JT was my best friend. JT helped me in school. JT brought me a Kleenex when I was crying. All of these just beautiful, beautiful things that I had no idea that he did. I mean, I knew he was a beautiful soul, obviously, but at the same time, he was also a rambunctious kid. I had to read what is the book, Raising a Spirited Child, in order to try to contain him, or not even contain him, but try to learn how to work with him and understand him. He was definitely one of those very spirited kids. But boy, did he have a belly laugh that would just light up a room. And he loved NASCAR. He loved going with his dad everywhere. He was definitely my husband's mini me, and a very, very bright, bright light. And you don't look at that before they leave. I mean, sure, you say, wow, this is a really neat kid, but you don't realize until after they go that how bright they were here. And it's just part of the story, the him being here and him having to leave early, and the reason for that is just part of the story. He is such an immense soul on the other side. But being here, his incarnation was, he embodied that big beautiful soul, and contained it in this little 7-year-old body. It's just yeah, beautiful. I miss him every day, of course.
Yes, that's so amazing because I speak to so many parents, and so we all say the same thing about our kids. I said the same thing about my son, 19, but at the service, everybody was like, he was my best friend. But they're so evolved, these kids that are here
Yes.
for a shorter time, and especially only 7. I mean, he was really an evolved young boy, I'm sure.
Yes.
And
Yes.
coming on strong with you for sure.
He gave me, yes, even when he was here, he gave me a run for my money, and he still does. Yes, he
And he
still
still does. Aw.
I call him my taskmaster because he definitely keeps me in line on what I need to do. He is my master teacher, my guide, and of course my dear friend now. We get to talk every day, and that I just feel so blessed to be able to do that with him.
Yes, that's beautiful. So, did you believe in an afterlife prior to JT's passing?
I did. I did not know exactly what it looked like, but I had done some work with Brian Weiss in past life regression, and I had seen other lifetimes that I had lived. And so I had an idea of that, but I really didn't get the extent of it. And as well as everybody here tonight, that when your kid leaves, all of that is blown out of the water. All of your belief system it just explodes, and you have to rebuild it, and you have to get pieces back. And look at the piece and say, okay, does this fit me still? Does this fit where I'm at? Does this fit my beliefs now? And that's what happened to me. Everything kind of blew up, obviously, and I had to put the pieces back together and say, okay, what do I believe? But I'll tell you from the get-go, JT worked overtime, and our kids do. All of our kids do. They work overtime in letting us know that they're okay, with signs and messages, even though I wasn't receiving them myself because I had no idea I was a medium at the time. But he would get messages to other people, and he would give me signs right away that I knew were him. It was undeniable that those were from him, and that really did keep me going.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us about your first sign where
So
you
the
knew it
first
was him.
sign, I know there were so many that he did, but I'll tell you, the very first one was after or actually while I was talking with my friend's mother. Now, it was about 4 days after he passed, and I had this list of names and numbers, and it was the name and number list that people would call. We had everybody descending on the house, and everybody would take turns checking off names because these people needed to be called to let them know that JT passed. And so I had that on my desk, and I looked down and I said, someone knows why he left. Someone knows. And I have no idea where this thought came from. Of course, now I do, right? Now I know that it was the divine in JT letting me know. But I said, somebody knows. And I ran my finger down the list and I stopped on a name and I said, she knows. And I called immediately. And it was my mother, I'm sorry, my friend's mother, and I had met her twice, and she met JT once. She lived in California. I was in Colorado. We did not have a lot of interaction. We had little interaction. And I called, and her husband answered, and I said, this is Serena, and just need to talk to your wife. And he said, hold on. Got her on the phone, and I just said, why? I didn't say, hello, how are you? I didn't say, great to hear your voice. I just said, why? And she said, well, go get a paper and pen because JT visited me last night and he has a message for you. So I did. I got the paper and pen. I was writing down this message and I looked down on my computer table and there was an index card about that big. And it said, I love you, Mom, JT. I had never seen this before. I had never seen this paper before. And there it was on my computer, which I had been at forever for many, many months. And there it was. And I could not believe it. I couldn't believe it. I picked it up and I said to her, I said, you won't believe what I just found. And she said, that's from JT. He wants you to know that he loves you. So that was the very first sign where I said, wow, wow. And then there were, of course, plenty of other signs. One of the biggest one being the dragonfly. I mean, I know that a lot of us get visits from dragonflies, and you'll see, I have my, I always have my dragonfly on. But what he did was through the dragonfly, I was at the cemetery having a very, very bad day. It was probably about 5 weeks after he left, and it was one of those days where you go and you know that you're not going to be disturbed at the cemetery. People are not going to walk up to a hysterical woman and ask, "Are you okay?" It was one of those days where I was literally pounding the grave, pounding it, and in hysterics. And I saw something quickly go by, and it made me pause. And I sat there and I said, what was that? And I got lower and I stopped crying. And then I saw a dragonfly go by. And I said, oh, that's interesting. And then he zipped by this way. He zipped by this way. And then he started to fly right in front of me and do like a little dance in front of me. And at that point, I knew it was JT. I actually started laughing because I thought, wow, this kid, he sure knows how to get my attention. And he continues to bring dragonflies. And these are not no ordinary, these aren't your ordinary dragonflies. These are dragonflies that do extraordinary things. Just the following day after that experience, I had a dragonfly land on my finger and tuck its wings in and just look at me. And now that is not that's not anything that a dragonfly would ordinarily do. So again, that was him saying, "Hey, I'm here. I'm okay. Uh, we're going to be okay." So those are the big ones that he gave me. But he still gives me many signs. He loves giving me hearts, and I know that a lot of us do get hearts, and he does them in very interesting places too.
Oh, well, that's awesome. A medium once told you that you are the bridge between this world and the next.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about that? How long it took you to become that bridge? Maybe a little bit about that journey and the steps you took.
Absolutely. And when I had spoken with her, so it was about 5 months after JT left. And backing up a little bit, 4 months after JT left, I had the beautiful experience of a life between lives regression with Linda Backman. And I know that I think she's doing things at part of helping parents heal, if I'm not mistaken. But she was just an incredible piece to that, because in that regression, what I found was that he was there. JT was there. He was part of my in between lives, and he was part of the this experience. And so from there, I started reading books, and I was reading a book about mediumship, and that's when I had my aha moment, where I said, "Oh my gosh, I think I could do this." I was reading Power of the Soul by John Holland. And it got to the part where it was talking about the clairs. And he has a very funny anecdote in there about the clairs. And I said, "Oh my gosh, that happens to me. I wonder if that's it. I wonder if that's what I'm supposed to do with this." And it was just a couple weeks after that that I had the very first reading with a medium. And again, it was somebody who was recommended to me. Again, she was in California. I was in Colorado, so she didn't know anything about me. And she is the one who said, "I have your guides here. They say that you are a medium, that you are the bridge between this world and the next." And I said, "Well, what do you do with that? How do you become that?" And she said, "Training, training, training." And I had already gotten into a private mentorship training, and I was working on or doing also a group training as well, psychic development. And so she encouraged me to continue that. And she also said that the guides say that I could hear them. And I said, "No, I can't hear them. I don't know what you're talking about." And right then in my head, in a very strong male voice, I heard the words, "Yes, you can hear us." And it was very distinct, very strong male voice, not a voice that I'd ever heard before. And so I said, "Okay, I guess I can hear them." And so I was diligent about my training, meditation every day, connecting exercises every day, and these were all done through the group training that I was doing, as well as the mentorship. And within a month, kids from the other side were coming to me to get messages to their parents. It was very uh, very uncomfortable at the time, because I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't receiving as well as I wanted to. I mean, obviously, a month into training, I didn't know what I was doing. And the guides helped me. JT helped me. And again, I didn't even have connection with him yet. I was strictly working with the guides that I was told to work with, the mediumship guides and those who could help me with my abilities. And so it was pretty quick. It was pretty quick process. Again, a month into it, starting to receive. And then within about 3 months, things were getting pretty clear as far as hearing them. And that was my primary clair, was hearing. And the clairs are how we receive information, for those who don't know what that means. We see it, hear it, feel it, know it, smell it, taste it. So mine was hearing, and I could also feel, but at the time I didn't know what that meant really. And I just continued to do my exercises. I continued to do my training work, my partner work with, with other people who were in the program too. And before I knew it, I was really receiving very clearly. And again, I didn't even have connection with JT at the time, which made me mad.
Ah, well, I think that's amazing because I do love that, it does take work. And I tell people that it takes work to connect. And not everybody's job in this world is to be a medium for others, but I do
Yes.
know that we can connect with our own children, but it takes work. I can hear, I don't hear other kids, but I can hear my son. So I love
Yes.
hearing that, meditation and practice. And I tell people that all the time. So, you didn't hear from JT, but you heard the other kids. Why do
Yes.
you think that is?
I believe it was the grief, that I was still working through grief. This was 9 months after he left, maybe. Well, let's see, got my first message from a child, not even 7 months after he left. And so I was still processing. And that's what we do. We can't, just because I was learning how to connect with him, it didn't mean I stopped my grief process. We have to continue that. It is something you can't put on a shelf. As we know, it's not something you could just wish away. Oh, I've got connection now, so I don't need to feel that pain, because we're moms, we're dads, these are our kids. And so I feel it was because I needed to work through some of that um some of that pain, because that pain can be in the way. It creates kind of a barrier sometimes. I'm not saying, I don't want to make it sound like just because it's there, just because you have grief, that you're not going to be able to connect with your kid, because that's absolutely not true. I did connect, but it was sketchy. It was spotty. It was frustrating as heck. And it made me mad again. It made me very
Yeah,
mad that I could give these beautiful messages to these other parents, but it was just like one word here, one word there, and from JT. So, but that changed. That changed pretty
yeah.
quickly.
Well, and I've heard other mediums. I have a friend who's medium, and she had said that after her mother passed, she'd been a medium, and she said, I couldn't talk to my mom forever because I'm sure, of the grief. So I think
Yes.
that's beautiful. So once you did find out the cause of JT's passing, which was the complications of influenza, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Once you found that out, you had stated that you knew that this was a plan to which you'd all agreed to. So can you explain a little bit about that? I love always
Yes.
hearing about the soul contract.
Yes, and that I found again when I was doing the Life Between Lives regression. I got to see JT, and he came out of the crowd, came running to me as I lifted out of that lifetime, whatever lifetime we were looking at, lifted out of that lifetime into the in-between space. And JT came running out, uh and I said the only question that I had for him was, did we agree to this? Because other people who were receiving messages from him, they said, well, JT says you agreed to this. JT says he's got big plans for you. And that would just, oh my gosh, that made me so mad again, because it's like, what are the plans? What am I supposed to do? I don't know what I'm doing here. I felt like I was flailing around. He showed me in that Life Between Lives regression. What he did was he said, yes, we agreed to this. And he took me to this place where we were outside of, I was looking into a room, and there was a table there, and seated at the table was our family, the soul family of my current family, my husband, my daughter, my other son, and JT. And the five of us were sitting around the table, and I heard myself say, "Yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do it." And instantly I knew that what I had just agreed to was having JT leave early. And I couldn't believe it. I saw it for myself. It was as clear as I'm seeing you, seeing myself say this. And it kind of messed me up for a while because you go, what does that even mean? What does that mean that I agreed to this? And then what does that make me? It makes me, am I just having a pity party here? I miss my kid, but then I agreed to have him leave. And so I had to have this explained to me, and JT explained it in depth to me later once we did start having conversations, that that we all agree to certain things that happen in our lives, the soul contracts, and we all have a part to play. And his part was to come in and stay for a short time, and then leave, so that he would spark what we needed to do. He would spark what we as a family needed to do, especially, I can speak for me, to find my purpose. Because I had received plenty of the drops along the way, that I was psychic, but I didn't believe it, that I could speak to people on the other side because they would visit me, but I blew it off, and I didn't really know the extent of it, and it wasn't as important. When your
Exactly.
child passes, it becomes super
Very
important to
important.
have that connection with him. And so that's how I discovered that, yes, I agreed to this, and we all agreed to this. If we didn't agree to it, then it would not have happened.
Exactly. And your job is to do what you're doing. And again, if JT knew that if you hadn't created this scenario, you probably
Yes.
wouldn't be doing this. So,
Nope.
your book, My View from Heaven, a boy's story of his journey to heaven and the purpose to life on earth, which is written by you, but channeled from JT. I loved the
Yes.
book. It's so fascinating because I just loved hearing what he had to say. Can you tell us a little bit about what he tells you about the evening he passed? And maybe about
Yes.
and maybe about hope. He mentions hope.
Yes. Yes. This really it really did blow me away, the way that he explained what his process was, because I know what my process was. And basically he became ill. Both he and his sister caught the flu. His sister actually had a higher fever. I was a bit more concerned about her, but he was having trouble too. And so there was a particular night, I had been sick all day with food poisoning, and that was by design as well. And I'll get to that in just a moment. But I was sick as a dog until 11 p.m. And I mean, the fever, the chills, the writhing, it was terrible. I could not even take care of the kids. My husband needed to pitch in. But JT is a mama's boy. He wanted his mom. So at about 11 p.m. the night of the 29th, my fever broke, and I finally got a burst of energy. So I went in to check on him, and he was struggling, just being. He just felt uncomfortable in his skin, and we had been working at different things. It was obviously it was a virus, so he had lots of vitamin C, trying to keep his body up. But it was about 3:30 in the morning when I was laying down next to him in his bedroom, and he popped up And he said, Mom, go to your room. And I said, oh, did you want to try sleeping in the big bed, thinking that he was very uncomfortable maybe, and that he wanted to move into a different bed. He said, no, you go. I want to watch TV. And he knew I couldn't sleep with the TV on, and I was exhausted because I had been sick all day, and then was trying to take care of him. Luckily, my daughter did finally go to sleep too. And so I did. I went into the other room. I left his bedroom, not thinking, right? Not thinking that, you think, oh, they have the flu, they get better. And it was 6 o'clock in the morning, roughly, maybe 5:30 to 6. And I woke up, I went to the bathroom, and coming back out of the bathroom, I said to myself, what happens if I go in there and he's dead? And you go, where does that come from? Where would that have come from? And so, of course, I went in and I found him not breathing. And then I started CPR, called for my husband, EMTs, all of that. So from his perspective, though, so that was my perspective. Then, as soon as I was able to converse with him, I asked him, why did you send me away? Why did you send me out of the room? And he told me about visits that he was getting from this angel named Hope. And Hope was instructing him that it was time for him to come home. And he didn't understand what that meant because he says, well, I am home. And she was so calm and beautiful and understanding and knew how to talk with him that she basically she told him to tell me to get out of the room. She was also there with him throughout the entire thing because he told me after he left his body, he came to get me. He was trying to come get me, and Hope stopped him and said, no, we have to wait for that. We have to wait for that. But what she did was she prepped him for the transition, and she was there with him every step of the way. And I know now from him that all of our kids have something like that. It might not be an angel called Hope, but it could be a grandmother. It could be somebody close to them. It could be an angel or an angel-like figure, and they assist our kids. They help our kids so that they aren't afraid, so that they know what to do, and that they understand that we're going to be okay. And that's what she kept telling him. She'll be okay. Your mom will be okay. Your dad will be okay. Because he, of course, when you find yourself out of your body and you see all the chaos around you, you wonder, is this, what have I done? I want to go back. And Hope said, this is all going to be all right. You'll see, just follow my instructions. So that was what Hope did for him. And I felt such relief when I heard that, because we all, I don't know, I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I was afraid he was alone. I was afraid that he went through this by himself and that he was wandering. We think about those things, and that's absolutely not the case. They are watched every step of the way.
Absolutely. And he spared you, or Hope spared you from being there because things are, turn out the way they're supposed to. So,
Yes, and I would have tried to stop it, and I would not have been able to stop it.
right.
And the reason, I found out later, he told me too, the reason why I got sick was because he did not want to go to the hospital. He wanted to leave at the house. He wanted to leave from home. And if I was well, I would have probably taken him in to get checked, whatever. But that was absolutely not part of the plan. So that's why I was sick that day.
Yes. So, what does JT tell you about heaven? And heaven, of course, some call it heaven, some call it nirvana, the universe, but heaven, I believe, sounds so far away, but it's it's right here. Elizabeth Lozano told me one of the first things she said that just gave me so much peace. She said the separation between you and Tyler is as thin as a piece of wax paper. And I've always held on to that because I know that they are
I love
so
that.
close to us. But what does he tell you about heaven?
Well, that, and absolutely, he says that, said that heaven is here, that we are all part of heaven, that we are all in heaven. There's just different layers of heaven. We're in the physical right now, but he is, and all of our kids are in the ethereal part of heaven, but it is all right here. It's just different dimensions, different frequencies, and it was really, really hard for me to understand that at first because I thought, what do you mean it's not? I pictured him off on a cloud somewhere, racing his little cars around, and he's going, "Oh, Mom, I'm right here. I'm right here with you. I am. This is it. We are here. We are one." And that's the other piece to this, is that part of heaven, us being part of heaven, our energy is part of heaven, and we are so connected to our kids, to our loved ones on the other side, that we're part of the one, we're part of the whole. And so it is because of that connection that we can converse with those who are not in physical. It's because they are so close to us, because we have that connection. And that's why I say every single parent can have connection with their kid. Now, I know that a lot of parents, they might have not received those blaring signs that some of us do. I have spoken with parents who they don't they don't acknowledge, or they don't know that the signs were there. And what I want to say to those people is that your children are absolutely still working at letting you know that they are okay. It might come in a different way. Again, we talked about the clairs, the different ways that we receive. Sometimes we expect the burning bush, right? We expect it to be really up in our face and an apparition and anything like that. But it can be very subtle too. The smell, that's what JT gave me in the beginning too, was the smell of his dirty laundry. And I didn't understand it until I was talking to the medium in California when she said, "I'm smelling dirty socks." And I started laughing because I thought, yes, that's what I smell all the time, is his dirty laundry. And so it could be something like that we might miss, that really is our children being, being funny for one, dirty laundry, but then also really wanting to let us know that they're okay.
Absolutely. I always tell people there are signs you just may not be recognizing them. They're
Yes.
working hard to let us know. So does he tell you about what he does in heaven? I know we love to think that they're doing everything that they could do here. Does he talk about that?
Well, absolutely. And there's different levels there. It was very interesting in the beginning because he would, when I did get connection with him and was able to have a conversation, we'd get together every night, and he would always bring my father, or they would come together. I shouldn't say he would bring my father, but they would come together. And then one day my father didn't come, and I said, "Well, where's Grandpa Roger?" Uh, well, I don't live with him anymore, because in the beginning, JT lived with his grandfather. So what we can do is we can construct, and my dad was very much part of material. He loved he loved things. And so when he passed, he decided he was going to create his own home, his own paradise, right? And so JT spent some time there, kind of assimilating back into the higher frequencies. And then there was a time where he didn't need that anymore, where JT didn't need to be in that frequency anymore. And but my father chose to stay in that, which is absolutely fine, because they're still where they need to be. They're still doing their journey. We never stop learning. We're always learning, even on the other side. For JT specifically, I remember one time I said, "Well, what are you doing?" And he held out his hands and he said, "I've got a ball of fire." And he said he was playing with creation, playing with fire. And I thought that was fascinating. We can create whatever we want there. And so he was playing with that. One of his things now, the main thing that he does now is teaching anybody who reads his book, or he also has a oracle card deck. Anybody who uses his cards, he is there working with them. He is a master teacher, and he really, really wants to help us in these incarnations and in figuring out what we need to do here. That's his big purpose. I am just the messenger, the messenger
Um,
of that. But that's really what he's doing now. He's a teacher.
and I've heard that from a lot of our kids, because again, I think they're so evolved. I know that
Yes.
I've had many mediums tell me that Tyler is helping kids actually, kids that cross, and helping them to give signs, teaching them with
Oh,
signs to give
beautiful.
signs. So I just love that. But so that must be what he meant, because you had also said that he talks about vibrational tone and frequency. So that's what
Yes.
he's referring to with that when you talk about
Yes.
he chose to go up a level from where your father was or his grandfather was.
Yes, absolutely. And we have choice. It's not like we have to get pushed up. It's not like we have to do certain things at a certain time. It's all our choice on how we progress, how we advance, and all of that. Now, our kids, they assimilate very, very quickly back because, well, one, they haven't been gone too long, right? But then also they are master souls. Usually, those kids who leave early, and I say kids, even if they're 30,
Mhm.
they're still our kids. They are going to be able to fly through that energy, through the different frequencies. Definitely, we're kind of, we're very dense here in this physical, but it doesn't mean we can't be higher frequency. We just have to learn how to manage the density of our physicalness, as well as connecting with that spiritualness.
Absolutely. And if I understood, JT had mentioned that our energy as JT, as my son, as all of our children, that energy will always be. So even though, our
Yes.
soul is so much larger. So um, I guess my question is, because I believe in, many lives and past lives, but some, and I don't know, I've heard some mediums say our kids wait until we get to the other side and we're all together to reincarnate. But then I've known people that say that they believe that their child has reincarnated, but their soul or that energy is JT, that energy is my son. I believe that they're, from what I understood from what he wrote, even if they reincarnate, we will still be with our child as
Yes.
our loved ones once we cross, regardless if it's
Yes.
been reincarnated. Yes.
Absolutely. It does not matter what every single incarnation has what they call an energetic imprint. And that imprint is JT. That imprint is Tyler. That imprint is whomever. And so that imprint is who I connect to when I am doing readings, and it is who you will see. That imprint is who you will see when you cross over, when you leave. And that, JT is not incarnated in any other, he has not come back. I don't think he wants to. I don't blame him. but but even if, let's say I've had a lot of like stillbirth babies, things like that we can still contact those souls because there is that imprint. It does not matter when they left, how long ago they left. There is always that imprint, and they will always be there when you leave, when you transition.
Yes. Thank you for that. I love that, because I know that some parents worry about that. So
Yes.
in your book, Love and Purpose, I know that one of the authors, she actually, and it's been a while since I read her portion. I went back and read yours. But she communicates with animals. Is
Yes.
that, yes, yes. So do you believe that our animals have soul contracts?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I am blessed to be an animal communicator as well. And what my animals have told me, and those animals that have left, some of these animals that come in are guides. They come in what they call the cat suit or the dog suit. And they are here for a specific purpose to help spur us into whatever we need to do, or help get us to do something that we don't want to do, along those lines. So animals are definitely very, very close to us. They are a huge, huge gift. And they do have contracts. They do have ways in which they want to leave. I had a cat who was older, and I really wanted to help him transition so he wouldn't suffer. And so I asked him, I said, "Can I do this for you? Can I help you?" And he said, "No, I want to do it this way. This is what my soul wants to learn. This is what I came here to do." And it broke my heart, and every day I would check with him, "Are you sure you don't want to go now? Are you sure? Because you're killing me here, and I can't even imagine that it's comfortable for you." And he said, "Nope, I am doing it this way for purpose." And he did. I honored that, and I let him do it his way. I had a dog, on the other hand, who had injured her knee, and she also developed some stomach cancer. And she said, can we do this today?" As soon as I asked her, can we take care of this for you? Can we help you? She said, "Yes, yes, I am so tired of this. Yes." And so we did. We called a beautiful service that was in Colorado to come and assist. And as soon as she transitioned out of the body, out of her little doggy body, she stood there and said, "Thank you. Thank you for doing that for me." And so we do have, and I hear of very tragic things that happen to animals, just like tragic things happen to people. And these are things, as JT says to me, these are things that those animals wanted to learn in a certain way.
Wow, that is fascinating, and I love it because I know that for me, I just, my animals are part of my family, and we just love them so
Absolutely.
much. And so I've always thought, well, they've come through in readings, but I just kind of was wondering if they also have that contract where they come for a particular reason and purpose,
Yes.
and then when they're ready, just like we are as humans, just like our kids, then they go home. So
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
now I have one more question, and then if anyone else has any questions, and this is kind of a tough one, I think, but
Okay.
for those, we have our soul contracts, and we come here obviously to grow and learn, and really to learn that it's all about love, that we're here to help and serve
Yes.
others. But what would you say for those, the serial killers, the murderers, would you say that that's a soul contract? I mean, because
That's a
especially,
tough one, right?
it's a tough one.
Yes. What JT says and what victims have said to me is that it was their contract. I had the very first situation where I was talking to somebody who had been murdered. It was actually a husband, and the wife murdered him. It was the parents of children in my daughter's class. And they went to school the first day, and then we all went to pick up our kids, and there were officers there waiting for the children to let them know that this had happened. And so I asked him, I said, what happened? And he said, this was obviously, he was on the other side, and he said, "It's not her fault. We agreed to this. in our previous life, I killed her. I took her life in a very violent way. And this, we agreed to do this so that I could experience it from that perspective. And he says, don't blame her. Now, I know that this is really, really tough if your child has been on the receiving end of this, if your child's been murdered, to think, how could my child have agreed to this heinous ending? But I want to tell all those parents that your child is an incredibly advanced soul, and nothing happens, I firmly believe, nothing happens on our planet unless it is guided to do so, unless we have agreed to do so. Our angels are, I call them angels, but it's frequency again. It's, our helpers, all of those. We have huge teams on the other side, huge teams of helpers. They will move heaven and earth literally to get us out of harm's way if we're not supposed to experience something. They will do anything they can, including coming into physical. They will come into physical or send somebody into physical to interfere, to intervene with something like that. That happened to me. I was 18 and I had a very scary situation in a very not great part of LA. And suddenly this man was there and he was protecting me. And then I never saw him again. So I know that they will, if we get ourselves into a pickle, they will do anything that they can to get us out of there if we have not agreed to be a part of that. Now, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be somebody. The one thing that, well, is that person in my soul family? No, the person does not have to be in the soul family. It can be, there are agreements between members of our soul families and other and other participants. So it doesn't have to be anybody that we know in spirit. It could be a random person who says, "Oh yeah, I'll do it. I need to have that lesson too." And that's what
Right.
it's about. It's about those lessons. And I know that is such a hard concept for people to think, how could we agree to this? But I can say from my personal experience, from standing there, watching myself say those words, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do it. I can say that, at least for me, that is the truth.
Absolutely. And as Mark Pitstick always says, the harder the lesson, the bigger the growth. And when
Yeah,
we're on the other side, life is like a blink of an eye. And if let's face it, if everything here was perfect, then we wouldn't learn, we wouldn't grow, we
right.
wouldn't have these. I mean, we might not, sometimes we think, what were we thinking? But when we're
Yes.
there, we think completely different. We think
Right.
completely different. So it's a tough one, but it's a question that I've had, people ask me. I'm a caring listener,
Absolutely.
and they're saying, is that part of a soul contract? And I said, well, we can ask those who get messages from the other side. So I was curious as to what messages you've received about that from JT.
Right. From JT and from those with whom I've
From
spoken,
right,
it was their contract.
was their
Yeah.
contract. Well, gosh, you've been amazing. I highly
Thank you.
recommend the books. They just have so much information. Again, it is Love and Purpose and My View from Heaven. So please,
Thank
any
you.
final words that you want to give everybody? And we've just been so grateful to have you here.
I thank you all so very much for being here. And I want to just say again to everybody that our kids, they work overtime in letting us know that they're okay. And it might be those subtle things that they'll give to you, but they will always let us know in some form or fashion. So if you haven't received anything, have hope. And know that you will, that it will happen. It might just be that your grief right now is covering it, and that's okay. You need to do the grief, you need to go through that process, but they are there. I can guarantee it. They are there. and you will get something eventually.
Thank you
Definitely.
so much, Serena. I'm going to ask everyone to unmute so they can say goodbye to you. You've been wonderful. And this is recorded, so people will go back and be able to hear it again.
I so appreciate everybody, and thank you so much, Carol and Lynn, for putting this together.
Well, thank you, Serena. You did awesome. And Carol, as always, thank you.
Thank you,
And
Serena.
thank you,
And
everybody, for
I don't
being
know
here
if I'm
tonight.
doing this wrong, so I'm trying to get them to unmute, but maybe let's see if they can. There we go. Okay.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you
See
very
you all.
much.
Thank you.
Serena, thanks,
Thank you
Carol.
so much,
Bye.
Thank you
everyone. Have a
very
nice
much.
evening.
You too.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.